Ethan Walker was only 32, but he was already the kind of man people whispered about in town. A self-made millionaire, sharp suits, fancy cars, and a smile that could turn heads. Yet, behind the charm, there was a side of him not everyone liked. Ethan loved challenges, and sometimes those challenges came in the form of bets. One evening, in a private club where the city's rich gathered, Ethan sat with his so-called friends. The laughter was loud, the drinks flowed, and so did the arrogance. "Ethan," said Marcus, one of his closest but most cunning friends, leaning forward with a sly grin, "you think you can get any woman to fall for you, don't you?" Ethan smirked. "If I want, I can. It's all about confidence, my friend." The group chuckled, but Marcus wasn't satisfied. His eyes gleamed with mischief. "Then prove it. Marry someone nobody expects you to even look at. Let's see if your pride still holds up." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "And who would that be?" That's when Marcus pointed toward the far side of the room. Sitting quietly with a book in her hands was Lily Anderson. She wasn't like the other women in the room. Lily was kind, soft-spoken, and carried herself with quiet dignity. But she was also overweight, and for years, people had judged her without knowing her heart. "She's perfect for this bet," Marcus whispered. "You marry her. Prove to us you can." The table erupted in laughter, except Ethan. He stared at Lily for a long moment. Her smile was gentle, almost innocent, as she turned a page. Something about her didn't fit into their cruel joke. But Ethan's pride wouldn't let him back down. "How much?" Ethan asked calmly. Marcus smirked. $1 million. If you marry her within 3 months, it's yours. But if you fail, you lose your prized penthouse. The crowd gasped. Ethan leaned back, his jaw tightening. He wasn't one to walk away from a challenge. "Deal," he said firmly. But what Ethan didn't know was that this bet, born from arrogance and pride, would soon turn his world upside down. Because once he stepped into Lily's life, nothing would ever be the same again. That night, Ethan's mind was restless. He told himself it was just a game, a challenge to prove his power. But deep inside, a strange uneasiness crept in. And across the city, Lily had no idea her quiet world was about to collide with a man who would test her strength, her heart, and everything she believed about love. The stage was set. The bet was on. But who would win, the millionaire with pride, or the woman with a heart of gold? The next morning, Ethan Walker stood in front of his mirror, adjusting his tie. His reflection looked confident, but his mind carried a strange hesitation. This wasn't just another business deal or social game, this was personal. And for the first time in a long while, he felt unsure. He stepped out of his luxury apartment and drove to a small bookstore downtown. That was Lily Anderson's favorite place, a spot she visited almost every morning before work. Ethan had done his research. After all, he never walked into anything unprepared. The little bell over the shop door jingled as he entered. Ethan's polished shoes clicked against the wooden floor. He looked out of place among the warm shelves and the smell of old paper. And then, he saw her. Lily sat at a corner table, sipping coffee with a soft smile as she flipped through a worn-out novel. Her curly brown hair framed her face, and her glasses slipped slightly down her nose. She wasn't glamorous like the women Ethan was used to, but there was something disarmingly real about her. Taking a deep breath, Ethan walked over. "Excuse me," he said smoothly, "is this seat taken?" Lily glanced up, surprised. She looked at him, then the empty chair. "No, go ahead." Ethan sat down, flashing his charming smile. "I noticed you're reading Pride and Prejudice. That's impressive." Her eyebrows lifted. "You've actually read it?" He chuckled. "Well, I've heard about it." Lily's lips curved into the faintest grin. "So, no." For the first time in years, Ethan felt slightly thrown off balance. Usually, women melted at his charm, but Lily's calm honesty pierced through his facade. "So," she asked, closing her book, "what brings someone like you here? You don't exactly look like a bookstore regular." Ethan leaned back. "Maybe I wanted to try something new. Or maybe I was just hoping to meet someone interesting." Her cheeks flushed faintly, but she quickly shook her head. "Well, there are plenty of interesting books. I'm not sure about people. Ethan laughed, genuinely amused. The two talked for nearly an hour. Lily shared her love for books, her dream of opening her own small cafe, and her quiet life. Ethan, for once, didn't boast about his wealth. He simply listened. And to his own surprise, he enjoyed it. But deep inside, guilt tugged at him. Because while Lily spoke with sincerity, he knew the truth, that his approach wasn't destiny or fate. It was a bet. As Ethan left the bookstore, Marcus called. So, did you meet her? Marcus asked. Ethan's jaw tightened. Yeah. She's different. Marcus laughed coldly. Different. Don't forget, Ethan, she's just the means to your million. Don't start growing a conscience now. Ethan hung up without answering. He looked back through the bookstore window where Lily still sat, sipping her coffee, unaware of the cruel game surrounding her life. And for the first time since the bet began, Ethan wondered, was he walking into a trap of his own making? Because what started as a bet was already beginning to feel like something far more dangerous. The days that followed brought Ethan back to the bookstore more than once. At first, it was for the bet. But soon, he found himself actually looking forward to those conversations with Lily. She had a way of making the noisy world feel calm. One afternoon, as Lily sorted through a stack of books, Ethan walked in carrying 2 coffees. Peace offering, he said with a small grin, handing her one. Lily tilted her head. For what? For pretending I knew more about Jane Austen than I actually did. She laughed, the sound soft but genuine. You're forgiven. This time. Ethan took a seat, his eyes lingering on her as she talked about her favorite novels. Every word she spoke carried a kind of warmth he wasn't used to. And for reasons he couldn't explain, he wanted more of it. Finally, he cleared his throat. Lily, would you like to have dinner with me? She blinked in surprise. Dinner? With you? Yeah, Ethan said lightly, though his heart beat faster than he expected. There's a little Italian place I know. Best pasta in town. Lily hesitated. She wasn't blind, she knew who Ethan was. Everyone in the city knew about the millionaire bachelor who never stayed with one woman for long. She studied him carefully, wondering why he was suddenly interested in her. I don't really fit into your world, Ethan, she said softly. Maybe that's a good thing, he replied quickly. Maybe I need something real for a change. There was something in his voice, something that almost convinced her. Almost. After a long pause, Lily smiled faintly. All right. One dinner. But only if you promise not to pretend you've read every book on my shelf. Ethan chuckled. Deal. That evening, Ethan prepared for the dinner as though it were a high-stakes business deal. His driver opened the sleek black car door, and soon Lily stepped out of her apartment. She wore a simple navy blue dress, her hair tied back, her glasses perched neatly. She wasn't dressed to impress, but to Ethan, she looked perfect. At the restaurant, people stared. Some whispered. Ethan, the city's most eligible bachelor, sitting across from Lily Anderson, the quiet, overweight bookstore girl. But Ethan ignored the stares. For the first time, he didn't care what people thought. Over candlelight, they talked. Lily told him about losing her parents young, about her struggles with confidence, about the small joys she found in books and baking. Ethan listened more than he spoke, feeling something stir inside him, a feeling he hadn't expected. But then his phone buzzed. A message from Marcus lit up the screen. Remember the bet. Don't get distracted. 3 months. Don't fail. Ethan's smile faltered. He quickly slid the phone away, forcing himself back into the moment. As dessert arrived, Lily leaned forward slightly. Ethan, why me? Out of all the women in this city, why are you here with me? Her question struck like a blade. His throat tightened. He had no answer she deserved to hear. For a moment, the truth almost slipped out, but pride and fear chained his tongue. Instead, he reached for her hand across the table. Because you're different, Lily. And that's exactly what I've been looking for. Lily searched his eyes, unsure if she could believe him. But there was a softness there, something that made her heart skip. The night ended with a gentle smile from Lily, and a promise for another dinner. But as Ethan drove home under the city lights, the weight of his lie grew heavier. He had walked in for a bet, but he was leaving with something far more dangerous, feelings. And deep inside, he knew, when Lily discovered the truth, it would shatter her. The weeks rolled by, and what started as a dinner turned into small routines. Ethan found himself slipping away from his polished, high-society world just to spend quiet evenings with Lily. Sometimes they met at her favorite bookstore. Other times, they sat in a small cafe, sipping hot chocolate instead of wine. Ethan was used to luxury, but strangely, he preferred these simple moments. He laughed more. He listened more. And for the first time, his heart wasn't chasing wealth or pride, it was chasing her smile. One evening, as they strolled through a city park, Lily paused under a glowing street lamp. The night breeze played with her hair as she looked up at the stars. "Do you ever wonder," she asked softly, "if life puts people in our path for a reason?" Ethan studied her face. "Every day lately," he admitted. Lily turned to him, her eyes searching. "I'm not used to this, Ethan. Men like you don't look at women like me. I keep thinking this is some kind of dream that'll fade when I wake up." Her words pierced him. Ethan wanted to confess, to tell her the truth, that this all started as a cruel bet. But his pride, his fear of losing her, and the thought of Marcus mocking him chained his tongue. Instead, he whispered, "You deserve someone who sees you for who you are. And I do." Her lips curved into the faintest smile, but deep down, doubt lingered. That night, Ethan dropped her home. As she stepped out of the car, Lily turned back. "Good night, Ethan. And thank you for making me feel like I matter." Ethan's chest tightened. For years, people had used him, flattered him, or envied him. But Lily's words were different. They were raw, vulnerable, and pure. Later that night, at a private lounge, Marcus cornered him. "You're getting soft," Marcus sneered, sipping his whiskey. "Don't tell me you're actually falling for her." Ethan's jaw clenched. "And what if I am?" Marcus chuckled darkly. "Then you're a fool. She's just the key to $1 million, Ethan. Don't confuse pity with love." Ethan stood abruptly, his fists tight. "She's not just a bet." Marcus leaned in, his voice sharp. "She is a bet. And when she finds out the truth, she'll hate you for it. Don't forget, your time is ticking. 2 months left." Ethan walked away, but Marcus's words echoed in his mind like poison. He couldn't erase the truth. Lily had no idea she was living in the middle of a cruel game. And every day he stayed silent, the secret became a ticking bomb between them. Because sooner or later, Lily would find out. Lily's world began to change. For the first time in years, she felt seen. Ethan wasn't like the others who laughed behind her back or treated her like she didn't belong. With him, she felt special. One Saturday, Ethan showed up at her apartment with flowers, not roses or orchids like he usually bought for women, but daisies. Simple, bright daisies. Her eyes widened. "You remembered, these are my favorite." "Of course I did," Ethan said softly, surprised at himself. Normally, he never remembered such details. But with Lily, every word she spoke seemed to stay with him. They spent the day together, walking along the boardwalk, eating ice cream, laughing at silly things. Ethan had never felt so alive. Yet every smile Lily gave him stabbed at his conscience. She trusted him fully, and he was building that trust on a lie. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan drove her to a quiet spot overlooking the city lights. They sat on the hood of his car, the wind brushing gently across their faces. Lily hugged her knees and whispered, "You know, sometimes I still don't believe this is real. I was never the girl people wanted. I was always too much or not enough. And now here you are." Ethan turned toward her, his voice low. "Don't ever say you're not enough. You're more than enough, Lily. More than I deserve." For a long moment, their eyes met. The world felt still. Then, without planning it, Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lily's breath caught. "Ethan, what is that?" He hesitated. The bet echoed in his mind. He could almost hear Marcus laughing, daring him to follow through. But his heart pounded for a different reason now. He wasn't thinking about the million anymore. He was thinking about her. Ethan opened the box, revealing a simple, elegant ring. "Lily, will you marry me?" Her hand flew to her mouth. "What? Ethan, this is so sudden." "I know," he said quickly. "But I don't want to waste another moment. You've changed me in ways I can't explain. Say yes, Lily." Tears filled her eyes. She had dreamed of love, of someone truly choosing her, but she never believed it could happen. "Ethan, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," he whispered, his voice trembling more than he wanted her to notice. And then, slowly, Lily nodded. "Yes, Ethan. Yes." Ethan slipped the ring on her finger, and she threw her arms around him, laughing through her tears. For Lily, it was the happiest moment of her life. But for Ethan, as he held her close, guilt crushed his chest like a weight he couldn't bear. Because he knew, this wasn't just love. It was a bet. A cruel, unforgivable bet. And if Lily ever found out, she would never forgive him. The weeks after their first dinner together turned into something Lily never thought she would have in her life: consistency. Ethan showed up. Again and again. Not just with flowers or fancy dinners, but with his presence. Sometimes it was coffee in the morning at her bookstore. Other times it was late-night walks through quiet streets, just talking about life. For Lily, every moment felt like a dream she was scared to wake up from. For Ethan, every smile from her cut deeper into his conscience. A simple surprise. One Saturday morning, Lily stood behind the counter of the bookstore, stamping new arrivals, when the bell over the door chimed. She looked up and froze. Ethan stood there, holding a messy bouquet of daisies. Not roses. Not orchids. Daisies. She laughed in surprise. "Ethan, daisies. You remembered." His lips curved into a small smile. "Of course I remembered. You told me they remind you of your mom's garden when you were a kid." Lily's eyes softened. "Most people don't listen when I say things like that." "I'm not most people," Ethan said gently. Her cheeks warmed, and she quickly busied herself with the books so he wouldn't notice. But Ethan noticed everything. A day by the ocean. That afternoon, Ethan insisted on taking her to the boardwalk by the ocean. The sun shimmered over the waves, and children ran with cotton candy in their hands. Lily laughed when Ethan tried balancing on the railings, almost slipping. "Careful," she said, tugging his sleeve. "Relax," he grinned. "I like living dangerously." "Dangerously," she teased. This from the man who orders sparkling water instead of soda. He laughed, a sound so genuine it startled even him. He couldn't remember the last time he laughed like that, not out of politeness, not because he wanted to impress someone, but because he simply felt joy. They shared ice cream cones, and when Lily got a little smudge of chocolate on her lip, Ethan instinctively reached out with his thumb to wipe it away. Their eyes met, and the world seemed to pause. Lily's heart raced, but she quickly looked away, flustered. "You're too much sometimes, Ethan." "Or maybe not enough," he said softly, almost to himself. The question that cut deep. As evening fell, Ethan drove her up to a quiet hill that overlooked the city. The skyline glittered like diamonds under the fading orange sky. They sat on the hood of his car, shoulders brushing, the silence between them comfortable. Lily hugged her knees, her voice low. "Ethan, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why me?" She turned to him, her eyes uncertain. "Out of all the women you could have, why choose me? I don't fit your world." The question hit Ethan like a punch. He could almost hear Marcus's mocking voice, "Because you're just a bet." But looking at Lily now, her eyes glistening with vulnerability, Ethan couldn't bring himself to say the truth. He swallowed hard. "Because you're real, Lily," he said finally. "You don't care about my money, my name, or the things everyone else chases. You see me. And I've never had that before." Her lips trembled into the faintest smile. "I don't know if I can believe you, Ethan. But I want to." His chest ached at her honesty. The proposal. The night grew colder, and Ethan's heartbeat pounded louder in his ears. Every second he spent with Lily was making it harder to keep the secret. Every second, he felt the walls of the bet closing in. Then, as if on impulse, he reached into his jacket pocket. His fingers brushed against a small velvet box. He had bought it 2 days ago, partly because of the bet, partly because he couldn't imagine walking away from her anymore. Lily's breath caught when she saw the box. "Ethan, what is that?" His voice trembled more than he wanted. "Lily, I know this is sudden. But sometimes, when you find something rare, you don't wait. You hold on to it. You protect it. And you never let it go." Her hands shook. "Are you saying?" He opened the box, revealing a simple silver ring with a small diamond. Nothing flashy. Nothing meant to impress society. Just elegant. Just sincere. "Lily Anderson," Ethan whispered, his throat tight. "Will you marry me?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Ethan, this doesn't make sense. We've only known each other a short time. And I don't look like the kind of woman people expect you to marry." Ethan reached for her hands, his voice breaking. "I don't care what people expect. I care about you. Say yes, Lily." Her tears fell freely now. For so long, she had believed love wasn't meant for her. She had watched others be chosen while she was overlooked. But here, under the stars, Ethan was choosing her. Slowly, with a trembling smile, she whispered, "Yes. Yes, Ethan." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and she threw her arms around him, laughing through her tears. For Lily, it was the happiest night of her life. For Ethan, it was the heaviest. Because while she held him tightly, he knew the truth. This love, this proposal, this moment, had been born from a cruel bet. And when Lily discovered it, her joy would turn to heartbreak. The days after the proposal felt like a whirlwind for Lily. She walked through the bookstore with a glow on her face, her engagement ring catching the sunlight. For the first time in her life, people looked at her differently, not as the overweight woman who didn't fit society's standards, but as someone chosen. But with every smile on Lily's face, Ethan's guilt grew heavier. The ring on her hand. At the bookstore, Lily's best friend, Hannah, noticed the ring immediately. "Oh my gosh, Lily. Is that?" Hannah's voice shot up, her eyes wide. Lily laughed shyly, holding out her hand. "Yes. Ethan proposed." Hannah gasped, pulling her into a hug. "I'm so happy for you." "But Lily," she hesitated, lowering her voice. "Are you sure? Ethan Walker is, well, he has a reputation." Lily's smile faltered. "I know what people say about him. But he's different with me. He listens. He cares." Hannah squeezed her hand. "Then I hope you're right. You deserve happiness, Lily. Just be careful." Lily nodded, but Hannah's words planted a tiny seed of doubt in her heart. Ethan's struggle. That evening, Ethan sat in his penthouse, staring at a glass of untouched whiskey. His phone buzzed. Marcus's name flashed on the screen. He almost ignored it, but then he sighed and answered. "Well, well," Marcus's mocking voice filled the line. "I heard congratulations are in order. Engaged already? That was faster than I expected." "Don't call it that," Ethan snapped. "What else should I call it? A step closer to $1 million. Or maybe the best joke this city has ever seen. Ethan Walker, the untouchable millionaire, marrying Lily Anderson. Society will eat this up." "Enough, Marcus," Ethan growled. "Don't tell me you're actually catching feelings," Marcus sneered. "She's not one of us. She'll never fit into your world. And when she finds out the truth, because she will, she'll leave you shattered." Ethan's grip tightened around the phone. His voice was low, dangerous. "If you ever say her name with disrespect again, Marcus, we're done." Marcus only laughed coldly. "You can't protect her from the truth, Ethan." Tick-tock. 2 months left. Ethan hung up and buried his face in his hands. For the first time in his life, he didn't know how to win. Every path forward felt like betrayal. A night with Lily. The next night, Ethan took Lily out to a quiet rooftop restaurant. Candles flickered on their table, and soft music played in the background. Lily gazed at the city skyline. "It feels like I'm living someone else's life. I keep waiting to wake up." Ethan took her hand. "No, Lily. This is real. You're the only real thing I've ever had. She looked into his eyes, searching. Then promise me something, Ethan. Promise me you're not hiding anything from me. That this isn't some game. Ethan's heart stopped. For a long moment, he couldn't speak. The truth clawed at his throat, desperate to come out. But instead, he forced a smile and whispered, I promise. Lily's eyes filled with tears of relief. She leaned across the table and kissed him, her trust pouring into him like light. But for Ethan, her kiss was both a blessing and a curse. Because in that moment, he knew he had just told the biggest lie of his life. The suspicion. Later that week, as Lily walked home from the bookstore, she overheard two women talking near the cafe. Did you hear? Ethan Walker is engaged. To Lily Anderson, right? One of them snorted. I bet it's some kind of joke. He'd never really choose her. Exactly. A man like him. With her. Something doesn't add up. Lily froze, her chest tightening. She turned and walked away quickly, their words echoing in her mind. When she reached home, she stared at the ring on her finger. For the first time, it didn't feel like a promise, it felt like a question. That night, as Ethan texted her sweet messages, Lily smiled faintly but said nothing about what she had overheard. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust him. But a small voice inside her whispered, what if they're right? And that tiny doubt was about to grow into something that could destroy them both. The following week felt heavier than the ones before. Lily smiled, she laughed, she even planned little wedding details in her notebook, but deep inside, something gnawed at her. The whispers she had overheard on the street replayed in her mind again and again. It's a joke. He'd never really choose her. She tried to push the voices away, tried to remind herself of Ethan's kindness, his warmth, the way he looked at her like she mattered. But doubt has a way of clinging to the heart. One evening, as she arranged books at the shop, Hannah stopped by. You've been quiet lately, Hannah said gently. Lily hesitated, then confessed. People are talking, Hannah. They're saying Ethan couldn't possibly want someone like me. That maybe this is all some game. Hannah frowned, touching her arm. Lily, people will always talk. They're jealous because you have something real. But what if it isn't real? Lily whispered, her voice breaking. What if I'm just fooling myself? Hannah sighed, unsure how to comfort her. If you really want to know, Lily, then ask him. Look into his eyes when you do. The truth always shows there. That night, Ethan showed up outside Lily's apartment with takeout in his hands. He grinned when she opened the door. I brought dinner. I figured you'd be too busy to cook. She let him in, her smile forced. They sat together, eating on the couch, but the silence between them was different this time. Ethan noticed it. You're quiet tonight, he said carefully. Lily looked down at her food. Ethan, can I ask you something? Of course. Her fingers twisted nervously in her lap. Why me? Really? I mean, you could be with anyone. People talk, you know. They say it doesn't make sense. That maybe I'm just some experiment for you. The words hit Ethan like a blade. He set down his fork, his chest tightening. He wanted to tell her everything in that moment, to rip off the mask and beg her forgiveness. But fear froze him. Lily, he said softly, reaching for her hand, I don't care what people say. I'm with you because I want to be. You are the only person who has ever made me feel like myself. That's all that matters. Her eyes filled with tears. She wanted to believe him, so badly. She nodded slowly and leaned against him, but inside, the seed of doubt was still alive. Later that night, when she was asleep in his arms, Ethan stared at the ceiling. His phone buzzed quietly on the nightstand. A message from Marcus. Don't get too comfortable. The bet isn't over. Remember what's at stake. Ethan's jaw clenched. He turned the phone face down, his arm tightening protectively around Lily. He hated Marcus. He hated the bet. And most of all, he hated himself. Because for the first time, Ethan Walker, the man who always had control, was completely powerless. And Lily, the woman who trusted him with her whole heart, had no idea she was standing on the edge of a truth that could destroy her. The next days felt like an emotional tug-of-war for Lily. One moment, she was glowing with happiness, staring at her engagement ring as though it were proof that she finally mattered in someone's world. The next moment, the whispers she overheard came back to haunt her. She told herself Ethan loved her. She told herself his eyes couldn't lie. But sometimes, late at night, when she was alone, she wondered if maybe she was just a story others would laugh about. Ethan sensed it. He noticed the way her smile sometimes faded too quickly, the way her questions lingered a little longer. He wanted to protect her from everything, especially from the truth, but the weight of his silence pressed harder on him every day. One evening, Ethan invited Lily to a gala. It was a charity event, filled with businessmen, celebrities, and polished socialites in glittering gowns. Lily hesitated when he asked her, "Ethan, you know I don't belong in places like that." He cupped her face gently. "You belong wherever I am. Don't ever doubt that." She agreed reluctantly, and when the night came, she wore a simple black dress that hugged her softly and brought out the warmth in her eyes. Ethan couldn't stop staring when she walked toward him. "You look breathtaking," he whispered, almost forgetting the world around them. But at the gala, the stares were sharp. Whispers followed them like shadows. "That's her. That's Lily Anderson. What's Ethan Walker doing with her? This has to be some kind of joke." Lily felt the eyes on her, every glance like a dagger. She tried to smile, tried to focus on Ethan's hand holding hers, but she couldn't block out the cruelty in the whispers. At one point, while Ethan stepped aside to greet a business associate, Lily found herself standing alone near the refreshment table. A tall woman in a silver gown approached her with a smirk. "So, you're Lily," the woman drawled. "I have to say, I never thought I'd see the day Ethan Walker proposed to someone like you." Lily's cheeks burned. "Excuse me." The woman leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Don't be naive, sweetheart. Men like Ethan don't suddenly change. If he's with you, it's because there's a reason. A hidden one." She gave a cold laugh and walked away, leaving Lily's heart pounding in her chest. When Ethan returned, he saw the distress on her face. "What happened?" he asked quickly. "Nothing," she said too fast, forcing a smile. But inside, her doubts grew louder. On the drive home, she stared out the window, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ethan, do you ever feel like we're living in two different worlds? Like maybe, this isn't meant to last?" His grip on the steering wheel tightened. He glanced at her, his heart aching. "Don't say that, Lily. It's real. I'll prove it to you." She turned to him, searching his face. "Then promise me again, Ethan. Promise me you're not hiding anything from me. That this isn't some kind of game." The words pierced him. His throat tightened, his mind screaming for him to confess, to free her from the lie. But the fear of losing her was stronger than his courage. "I promise," he whispered. Lily nodded, but her heart was restless. She wanted to believe him. She needed to believe him. Yet deep down, a storm was beginning to gather. That night, when she was asleep in her bed, Ethan stood outside her apartment in his car, staring up at her window. His phone buzzed again. "Marcus." Another message. "TikTok, Ethan. You've got less than 2 months. Don't forget who holds the cards." Ethan shut off his phone and leaned back against the seat, his chest heavy. For the first time, he wondered if he could ever escape the mess he had created, or if the truth would rip everything away from him. And upstairs, Lily stirred in her sleep, her hand resting on the ring he had given her. She didn't know yet that the love she had placed her whole heart in was sitting on a foundation of lies. The next week was meant to be full of wedding plans. Lily had started looking at small venues, simple dresses, and even wrote a list of songs she wanted to play on the day she would finally walk down the aisle. Ethan offered to take care of everything, but Lily insisted on keeping it small. "I don't want grand, Ethan," she said with a smile. "I just want it to be real." Those words lingered in his chest like a knife. But the more they planned, the more Lily's insecurities began to grow. Every time she went out, she felt the eyes of strangers on her. People whispered. Some were cruel enough not to lower their voices. One afternoon, at a dress boutique, Lily was trying on a gown when she overheard 2 attendants talking. "She's marrying him? Ethan Walker." I don't buy it. She's not his type. This has to be a stunt. Poor girl. She probably thinks it's real. Lily's throat tightened, and tears blurred her reflection in the mirror. She quickly changed out of the dress and left the shop, her heart heavy with shame and fear. That night, when Ethan came over with takeout, he immediately noticed her red eyes. Lily, what's wrong? She shook her head. Nothing. I'm fine. Don't lie to me, he pressed gently, sitting beside her. Talk to me. Her voice trembled. Everyone thinks this isn't real, Ethan. They say it doesn't make sense. That you'd never choose me. And sometimes, she paused, tears spilling down her cheeks, sometimes I wonder if they're right. Ethan pulled her close, holding her tightly. Lily, don't listen to them. They don't know you like I do. You are everything I want. Everything. She buried her face in his chest, wanting to believe, needing to believe. But deep down, a little voice whispered that maybe the world wasn't wrong. Later that week, while Ethan was in a meeting, Lily decided to surprise him. She showed up at his office with lunch, something she had never done before. But as she reached the lobby, she saw Marcus standing there, talking to the receptionist. Marcus noticed her instantly. His eyes gleamed with amusement. Well, you must be Lily. The fiancée. Lily blinked, surprised. You know who I am. Oh, everyone knows who you are, Marcus said smoothly. The whole city is talking about Ethan's interesting choice. Her stomach twisted at his words. Interesting choice. Marcus leaned closer, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Let's just say Ethan doesn't do anything without a reason. Maybe you should ask him why he really picked you. Before Lily could respond, Ethan appeared, his eyes narrowing at the sight of Marcus. Lily, what are you doing here? I brought lunch, she said softly, her hands tightening on the bag. Marcus smirked, glancing between them. How sweet. Well, I'll let you two lovebirds enjoy your meal. But remember, Lily, sometimes the truth is closer than you think. He walked away with a smug grin, leaving tension in his wake. Ethan's jaw was tight as he took Lily upstairs. Don't listen to him. Marcus loves playing games. But Lily couldn't shake the unease in her heart. The way Marcus spoke, the way he smirked, it felt like he knew something she didn't. That night, while Ethan was asleep beside her, Lily sat awake, staring at the ring on her finger. She whispered to herself, why me? Why really me? Her heart wanted to believe Ethan. But her mind was beginning to search for answers. And answers have a way of finding those who are desperate enough to look. Lily couldn't shake Marcus's words from her mind. They echoed in her ears, crawling into her thoughts no matter how much she tried to drown them out. Ethan doesn't do anything without a reason. Maybe you should ask him why he really picked you. She wanted to brush it off, to believe Ethan's reassurances, but something deep inside her refused to rest. And so, quietly, Lily began to look closer at Ethan's world. At first, it was small things. She paid attention to his late-night phone calls, the way he always turned his phone face down when they were together. She noticed how tense he became whenever Marcus's name came up. And though Ethan told her he loved her, his eyes sometimes carried a shadow she couldn't explain. One afternoon, when Ethan went to take a shower at her apartment, Lily's curiosity got the better of her. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. She stared at it, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew it was wrong. She knew she shouldn't. But her hands moved anyway. The screen lit up. A new message from Marcus. Time's running out. Don't forget the terms. She'll never forgive you when she finds out. Lily's stomach dropped. She quickly set the phone down before Ethan came out, her hands trembling. She smiled weakly when he emerged, pretending nothing was wrong. But her heart was racing. What terms? What would she never forgive him for? That night, after Ethan left, Lily sat in her room for hours, replaying the words over and over. She felt sick. She needed to know more. The next day, Lily confided in Hannah. Hannah, I think Ethan's hiding something. I saw a message from Marcus. It said something about terms. About me not forgiving him. Hannah's eyes widened. Lily, That doesn't sound good. You have to be careful. I love him, Hannah. But what if this whole thing isn't what I thought? Hannah squeezed her hand. Then you need to find out the truth before you give him your whole life. That evening, Lily decided to visit Ethan's office again. She waited until she knew he'd be in a meeting, then slipped past the receptionist with a nervous smile. She wandered the halls until she found his office. Her hands trembled as she opened the door. The office was immaculate, sleek, everything in its place. She walked to his desk, scanning for anything, any clue that might explain Marcus's words. Her eyes landed on a drawer. She hesitated, then pulled it open. Inside was a stack of papers. Contracts, agreements, and one envelope with Marcus's name on it. Before she could open it, a voice froze her in place. Looking for something. Lily spun around, her heart nearly stopping. Marcus stood in the doorway, his lips curved into a knowing smirk. I was just, she stammered, clutching the envelope behind her. Marcus stepped closer, his eyes glinting. Curiosity can be dangerous, Lily. But maybe it's time you learned the truth. After all, Ethan isn't the saint you think he is. Her throat went dry. What are you talking about? Marcus leaned in, his voice low and cruel. Ask him why he really chose you. Ask him what he stands to win, and what he stands to lose. Before she could respond, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Marcus slipped out quickly, leaving Lily trembling in the office, the envelope burning in her hands. Ethan's voice called from outside. Lily, what are you doing here? She froze, shoving the envelope back into the drawer just as the door opened. Ethan stepped in, surprise on his face. I just wanted to see you, she said quickly, forcing a smile. Ethan studied her, suspicion flickering in his eyes. But he said nothing, only walking toward her with a tired smile. Lily's heart raced. She hugged him tightly, but her mind was spinning. She had almost touched the truth. And now, she knew, whatever Ethan was hiding, it was big. That night, Lily barely slept. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her mind restless, the image of that envelope and Marcus's cruel smile haunting her. Every word he had said echoed like a warning. Ask him why he really chose you. Ask him what he stands to win, and what he stands to lose. By morning, Lily's chest ached from the weight of it all. She wanted to trust Ethan, she loved him, with everything inside her, but she couldn't silence the doubt anymore. She needed answers. When Ethan picked her up that afternoon for a lunch date, Lily tried to act normal. She smiled, laughed, held his hand. But her eyes kept drifting to him, studying his face, searching for something, anything, that might betray the truth. Is everything okay? Ethan asked gently as they sat in the cafe. Yes, she said quickly. Too quickly. He tilted his head, studying her, then smiled. You know, you're a terrible liar. Her heart skipped. She bit her lip, then asked softly, Ethan, if you were keeping something from me, you'd tell me, wouldn't you? The question hit him like ice. He forced a smile. Of course, Lily. You're the last person I'd ever lie to. She nodded, pretending to be reassured. But her chest tightened with unease. Later that evening, Ethan was called away for a business dinner. Alone in her apartment, Lily paced the floor. Finally, her frustration boiled over. She grabbed her coat and went back to Ethan's office. The building was quiet. She slipped inside, her heart pounding with each step. She hurried to his office, pulled open the same drawer, and this time, she opened the envelope. Inside was a folded sheet of paper. Her hands shook as she read the words. Agreement between Marcus Hale and Ethan Walker. If Ethan successfully courts and marries Lily Anderson within 6 months, Marcus will transfer the Oakwood investment shares to Ethan's name. Failure results in forfeiture of Walker's inheritance stake. Lily's vision blurred. She clutched the paper as though it might burn her. Her knees felt weak, her heart thundering in her ears. A bet. Her love, her engagement, her future, it was all tied to a cruel game. She stumbled back, tears spilling down her cheeks. She wanted to scream, to tear the paper apart, but before she could move, the door creaked open. Ethan stepped inside. He froze when he saw her, the paper trembling in her hands. His face drained of color. Lily, his voice cracked. Her chest heaved with ragged breaths. Tell me it isn't true. Ethan took a step forward, his hand outstretched. Lily, please. Don't, she shouted, tears streaming down her face. Tell me it isn't true, Ethan. Tell me you didn't gamble my heart like it was some prize to be won. His lips parted, but no words came. The silence was louder than any confession. Lily's whole body shook. She dropped the paper on the desk, her sobs breaking the air. You lied to me. All this time, you lied to me. Ethan tried to reach her, his eyes desperate. It started as a bet, yes, but Lily, I swear to you, it's not that anymore. I love you. I never expected to, but I do. Please believe me. Her heart twisted painfully. Part of her wanted to believe him. Part of her still clung to every tender moment, every look, every touch. But the betrayal was too deep. She stepped back, her voice trembling. How could you? Do you have any idea what you've done to me? Ethan's face crumbled. Lily. But she shook her head, tears blinding her. Don't follow me. And with that, she fled the office, her sobs echoing down the empty hallway. Ethan stood frozen, his heart shattering as the woman he loved disappeared from his sight, carrying with her the truth he had never wanted her to know. Lily didn't stop running until she reached her apartment. Her hands shook so badly she could barely fit the key into the lock. The moment she got inside, she collapsed against the door and sobbed until her body ached. Everything she had believed, everything she had dreamed, it all felt like a cruel joke. The engagement ring on her finger suddenly felt like chains, heavy and mocking. She tore it off and threw it across the room, the small diamond clattering against the wall before landing on the floor. All night, she lay awake, her mind replaying every moment with Ethan. Every kiss, every whispered promise, every smile. Were they all lies? Or had any of it been real? The next morning, her phone buzzed non-stop. Dozens of messages from Ethan lit up the screen. Lily, please, let me explain. I know I hurt you, but it's not what you think. I love you, Lily. Please answer me. She turned the phone face down, unable to bear the sight of his words. When Hannah came over that afternoon, Lily collapsed into her arms. It was all a bet, Hannah. He bet on me like I was some trophy. Hannah's eyes widened, fury flashing across her face. What? He did what? Lily nodded through tears. I saw the papers myself. Marcus and Ethan made an agreement. If he married me, he'd get some shares or... I don't even care. He used me. Hannah held her tightly. Oh, Lily. I'm so sorry. 4 days, Lily avoided Ethan. She stopped answering his calls, blocked his number, even asked Hannah to cover shifts at the bookstore so she wouldn't have to face him showing up. But Ethan didn't give up. He left flowers at her door, letters slipped under the crack, voicemails where his voice cracked with desperation. Lily, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I was a fool. But please believe me, what I feel for you now, it's real. I can't lose you. Lily listened to none of it. Her heart was too raw, too broken. Every gesture only reminded her of the betrayal. Then one evening, as she walked home alone, she saw Marcus waiting near her apartment building. His smile was smug, his hands casually in his pockets. Looks like reality finally caught up with you, he said smoothly. Lily froze, her stomach twisting. Get out of my way. Marcus chuckled. I just wanted to see how you were holding up. Poor Lily. Did it hurt, finding out you were nothing but a wager? Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice trembled with anger. You're disgusting. Maybe, Marcus shrugged. But at least I never pretended. Ethan's the liar. Don't let him fool you with his sad little speeches. To him, you were never more than a means to an end. Lily's fists clenched. She wanted to scream, to shove him, but instead she pushed past him and hurried inside. Upstairs, she locked the door and sank to the floor. Marcus's words burned inside her. But somewhere deep, in the quiet of her heart, she remembered Ethan's face in the office, broken, desperate, begging her to believe him. If it had all been just a game, why had he looked so shattered? Her chest tightened with confusion. She didn't know what was real anymore. And outside, in the shadows across the street, Ethan stood silently, watching her window. His heart ached, but he refused to give up. He whispered to himself, "I'll prove it to you, Lily. I'll make you see that I love you." But time was running out. And Marcus wasn't finished yet. The days that followed were unbearable for Ethan. He had built empires with his sharp mind, made decisions worth millions without flinching, but now, he couldn't even find the right words to bring back the woman he loved. Lily avoided him completely. Every attempt, letters, calls, flowers, ended the same way. Silence. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't focus on work. His world had narrowed down to one truth: without Lily, nothing else mattered. One evening, Ethan decided he couldn't wait any longer. He drove to the bookstore, where he knew she'd be closing for the night. As the last customers left, he waited outside, his heart hammering like it had never done before in any business deal. When Lily finally stepped out, her coat wrapped tight against the chill, she froze the moment she saw him. Her face hardened, her steps quickening. "Lily, please," Ethan said, his voice raw. "Just give me 5 minutes." She shook her head, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "There's nothing left to say." "Yes, there is," he insisted, stepping closer but keeping his distance. "I know I don't deserve it, but I need you to hear me. The bet, it was real, in the beginning. I was arrogant, blind. I thought I was invincible, that I could play games with people's hearts. But then I met you. And everything changed." Her voice cracked with pain. "Changed. Ethan, you lied to me. You let me dream of a future, all while you were counting down to some deal." His throat tightened. "I know. And I hate myself for it. If I could turn back time, I'd undo it all. I'd meet you without lies, without Marcus, without any of it. Because what I feel for you now, it's the only real thing I've ever known." Lily shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "How do you expect me to believe that? How do I know this isn't just another part of your game?" Ethan's voice broke. "Because, Lily, for the first time in my life, I'm begging. Not as a millionaire. Not as Ethan Walker. Just as a man who is hopelessly in love with you. And I will spend the rest of my life proving it, even if you never forgive me." Her heart twisted violently. She wanted to believe him, wanted to fall into his arms like before. But the betrayal still cut too deep. She wiped her tears and whispered, "I can't, Ethan. I can't trust you." And with that, she turned and walked away, leaving him standing on the empty street, his chest aching as if it might shatter. But the night wasn't done with them. From the shadows, Marcus had been watching. His lips curved into a cold smile as he lit a cigarette. "So the mighty Ethan Walker finally bleeds," he muttered to himself. The next morning, Marcus paid Lily a visit at the bookstore. He walked in with his usual smirk, ignoring the sharp glare she threw his way. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice laced with ice. "Relax," Marcus said smoothly, leaning against the counter. "I just thought you deserved the whole truth. You see, Ethan's desperate act last night? All very touching. But don't forget, he only came to you because the deadline's almost up. If he fails, he loses everything his family built. You weren't chosen out of love, Lily. You were chosen out of necessity." Her hands trembled around the book she was holding. "Stop lying." Marcus chuckled. "Oh, I'm not lying. I'm the only one who's been honest with you. Ethan may say he loves you now, but if there had never been a bet, do you really think he would have looked at you twice?" The words hit her like knives. She turned away, but the doubt clawed at her again. Marcus leaned closer, his voice a whisper. "He's fighting for you, sure. But ask yourself, would he still be here if there was nothing to win?" With that, he walked out, leaving Lily's heart torn in two. That night, Lily sat on her bed with the ring in her palm. She stared at it for hours, her tears dripping onto the tiny stone. Ethan's desperate confession echoed in her mind, but so did Marcus's poison. She whispered into the silence, "What's real, Ethan? Was any of it ever real?" And somewhere across the city, Ethan sat alone in his office, staring at the same ring he had once slipped onto her finger, now lying heavy in his pocket. He whispered back into the emptiness, "Everything. You were the only thing that was ever real." But neither of them heard the other. And with Marcus pulling the strings tighter, their story was far from over. The bookstore felt different the next morning. To Lily, it was no longer the warm, safe haven she once loved. Every shelf, every stack of books, every quiet corner reminded her of Ethan's visits, his smile, the way he used to sneak up behind her and whisper, "You work too hard." Now, those memories only deepened her pain. She felt like her entire life had been split in two, the time before the truth and the time after. By afternoon, she made a decision. She went to her drawer, pulled out the small velvet box Ethan had given her, and slipped the engagement ring inside. Her hands shook as she closed it. It wasn't just a ring. It was her trust, her hope, her future. And she was about to give it back. When evening came, she sent Ethan a short message, "Meet me at the park. We need to talk." Ethan's heart leapt when he saw it. 4 days, he had been drowning in silence, and now, finally, a chance. He grabbed his coat and hurried to the park, his chest pounding with both hope and dread. Lily was already there, sitting on a bench under the fading glow of the street lamps. She looked tired, her eyes swollen from crying, but her posture was firm. Ethan approached slowly. "Lily." She held up the box, her voice trembling but steady. "Take it back." His chest caved at the sight of it. "Please, don't do this." Tears welled in her eyes, but she shook her head. "Ethan, I can't wear this. Every time I look at it, I remember the papers, the agreement. I remember that I was never your choice, I was your bet." He dropped to the bench beside her, his voice desperate. "Lily, listen to me. It started as a bet, yes. I was arrogant. I was stupid. But the moment I got to know you, everything changed. I fell in love with you. That's the truth." Her lips trembled. "Then why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you come clean before I found out on my own?" His eyes filled with regret. "Because I was terrified of losing you. And now, I've lost you anyway." The silence between them was deafening. The sound of leaves rustling in the evening breeze felt louder than their breaths. Finally, Lily placed the box in his hand. Her tears spilled freely now. "You may love me now, Ethan. But you didn't choose me out of love. You chose me because of a deal. And I can't live with that." He clutched the box as though it might disappear, his knuckles white. "Lily, please, don't let Marcus win. Don't let this end because of him." Her voice cracked. "It's not Marcus, Ethan. It's you. You broke me." She stood, turning away before he could see the full storm of tears on her face. "Goodbye, Ethan." Ethan didn't move. He sat frozen on the bench, the little velvet box heavy in his hand, the night pressing down on him. From a distance, Marcus watched, hidden in the shadows of the park. He smirked as Lily walked away, leaving Ethan shattered and alone. Lighting a cigarette, he whispered to himself, "Checkmate." But what Marcus didn't know was that Lily, though broken, wasn't completely gone. Her heart still ached with love for Ethan, no matter how much she fought it. And Ethan, destroyed by his own mistake, was more determined than ever to prove that his love was real, no matter what it cost him. The days that followed felt like an endless blur for Lily. She went through the motions at the bookstore, greeting customers with forced smiles, shelving books with shaky hands, pretending she was fine. But inside, she was drowning. Every quiet moment brought Ethan back to her mind. His laughter, his warmth, his promises, and now, his betrayal. At night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the scene at the park over and over. The look on his face when she handed him back the ring haunted her. His eyes hadn't just been sad, they had been broken. And that made it harder, not easier. Because if he truly didn't care, walking away would have been simple. But he did care. That much was undeniable. Still, the papers didn't lie. The agreement was real. And no matter how much her heart wanted to believe Ethan, her mind screamed that love built on lies could never last. Meanwhile, Ethan was unraveling. He stopped attending meetings, ignored calls from investors, and left his office deserted. His father's voice thundered through countless voicemails, warning him that his reputation and company were at stake. But Ethan didn't care. None of it mattered without Lily. He spent hours driving by her apartment, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. Sometimes he parked outside the bookstore, watching her through the window as she worked, longing to go in but too afraid she'd push him away again. One night, sitting in his car with the engagement ring in his hand, Ethan whispered to himself, "I've lost everything before, money, deals, pride. But I can't lose her." Still, Marcus wasn't finished twisting the knife. He cornered Ethan in his own office one afternoon, smirking as he dropped a fresh stack of papers on the desk. "Looks like time's almost up, Walker. The deal was 6 months. You've got 3 weeks left." And from the looks of it, Marcus leaned back casually, "She's not wearing your ring anymore." Ethan's jaw clenched, his eyes burning. "You think this is about the bet now? You think I care about your stupid shares? Take them. I don't want them." Marcus chuckled. "Oh, don't play noble now. You wanted to win from the start. That's the only reason you picked her." "Shut up," Ethan growled, standing so abruptly his chair toppled. "The bet was my biggest mistake. She's not a prize. She's the only person I've ever loved." Marcus's smirk widened. "Too bad she'll never believe you." He tapped the papers once, then walked out, leaving Ethan trembling with rage. That night, Ethan made a decision. If Marcus thought this was still about money, he would prove him wrong. He would sacrifice everything, the deal, the inheritance, the company, just to show Lily that she had never been a game to him. But Lily, unaware of his decision, was fighting her own war. Hannah noticed the change in her, how quiet she'd become, how easily she teared up at small things. One evening, Hannah found her sitting alone in the bookstore after closing, staring blankly at a novel she hadn't even opened. "Lily," Hannah said gently, sitting beside her, "you can't keep torturing yourself like this." Lily's voice broke. "I loved him, Hannah. And I think I still do. But how do you go back to someone who lied to you about everything?" Hannah sighed, wrapping an arm around her. "Love doesn't erase pain. But it does give you the choice, to let it heal you, or destroy you. Only you can decide which one it'll be." Lily leaned her head on Hannah's shoulder, silent tears falling. Her heart whispered one truth she couldn't admit out loud. No matter how much Ethan had hurt her, she still couldn't stop loving him. And Ethan, sitting alone in his apartment with Marcus's papers torn to shreds on the floor, swore silently into the darkness, "I'll prove it to you, Lily. Even if it takes everything I have left." But neither of them knew, the storm was only beginning. The city felt colder to Ethan now. Every skyscraper, every glowing billboard reminded him of the empire he had built, the power he once held, and how meaningless it all felt without Lily. He had tried to drown himself in work, in rebuilding his image, but every time he sat in his office, he found himself staring at the little velvet box on his desk. The ring he had once slipped onto Lily's finger. The ring she had given back. And then one morning, Ethan made a choice. He called a press conference. His father argued. His lawyers begged. But Ethan didn't care. He needed the world to know the truth, and Lily most of all. The conference hall filled quickly, journalists buzzing, cameras flashing. When Ethan stepped onto the stage, there was a murmur of surprise. He wasn't dressed like the confident billionaire they were used to. His suit was plain, his face tired, but his eyes carried fire. He leaned toward the microphone. "I've spent years building a name for myself. I've been called powerful, ruthless, even untouchable. But none of that matters today. Because I'm here to tell you something the world deserves to hear." The room hushed. "There was a bet," Ethan continued, his voice steady though his chest ached. "Months ago, Marcus Hale and I made a deal. A cruel, arrogant bet that I could win the heart of a woman who deserved far better than my lies." Gasps rippled through the audience. "Her name is Lily Anderson," Ethan said, his voice breaking slightly. "And she is the kindest, most extraordinary woman I have ever met. I hurt her. I betrayed her trust. And if she never forgives me, I will live with that pain for the rest of my life. But make no mistake, she was never a game to me. She became the only thing real in my entire world." Cameras flashed wildly, reporters shouted questions, but Ethan raised his hand. "I don't care about the shares. I don't care about the inheritance. I don't care about Marcus Hale. I give it all up today. All I want is the chance to prove to Lily that I love her, not because of a bet, but because she is the only person who has ever seen me for who I am." And with that, Ethan stepped away from the podium, ignoring the chaos erupting behind him. Across the city, Lily sat in her apartment, watching the press conference unfold on her TV. Her hands covered her mouth, her heart racing. Every word sank into her chest like fire and ice. He had confessed publicly. He had risked everything. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Part of her wanted to run to him, to believe that this was proof his love was real. But another part whispered, too late. Too broken. As she struggled with her emotions, a knock sounded at her door. Her heart leapt, thinking it might be Ethan. But when she opened it, Marcus stood there, his smug smile stretching wide. "Well, well," Marcus drawled. "I see you've seen Ethan's little performance. Quite the spectacle, wasn't it? But don't be fooled, Lily. He only confessed because he was cornered. He's a master manipulator. This is just his final act to win you back." Lily's hands trembled. "No, he gave it all up, Marcus. He wouldn't have done that for a game." Marcus's smirk deepened. "Oh, sweet Lily. You really think a man like Ethan Walker changes overnight? Don't let a fancy speech blind you. He may have sacrificed the deal, but deep down, he's still the same man who put your name on a contract." Her breath hitched, her chest torn in two. She slammed the door in Marcus's face, leaning against it as tears spilled again. Her heart screamed that Ethan was different now. Her mind warned her not to be fooled again. Inside his penthouse that night, Ethan sat alone, staring out at the city lights. For the first time in his life, he had nothing left. No deal. No inheritance. No Lily. Just the truth. And sometimes, the truth wasn't enough. The night after Ethan's public confession, the city buzzed with gossip. News outlets replayed his words, business analysts debated his decision, and social media overflowed with divided opinions. Some called him foolish, others praised him for his honesty, but one name was on everyone's lips, Lily Anderson. For Lily, the attention was unbearable. Strangers whispered in the bookstore, customers looked at her with curiosity, and even neighbors knocked on her door asking if the rumors were true. She wanted to disappear, to run away from the chaos. But most of all, she wanted silence, silence from the storm in her own heart. Late one evening, Hannah walked in to find Lily sitting at the counter, her head buried in her hands. "You saw it again, didn't you? The conference." Lily looked up, her eyes red. "He gave up everything, Hannah. He threw away his inheritance, his company, for me." Hannah sat down beside her. "Then maybe he meant it. But how can I trust that?" Lily whispered, her voice breaking. "He lied to me once. What if this is just another way to win me back?" Before Hannah could answer, the bell above the door jingled. Both women looked up and froze. Ethan stood there, his hair disheveled, his suit wrinkled, his eyes tired but determined. Lily's breath caught. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Finally, Ethan spoke softly, almost pleading. "Lily, please don't send me away this time." Hannah glanced at Lily, then quietly slipped into the back room, giving them space. Lily's voice trembled. "Why are you here, Ethan? Haven't you done enough?" He stepped closer, every movement careful, as if one wrong step might shatter everything. "Because I can't stop loving you. And I needed you to know that nothing else matters to me. Not the company. Not the money. Just you." Lily shook her head, tears brimming. "You don't understand. It's not that simple. You hurt me, Ethan. You made me feel like I was just part of some cruel game." Ethan's eyes filled with pain. He pulled the velvet box from his pocket and placed it on the counter between them. "This ring, it was supposed to symbolize a bet. But it became something else. It became the promise I wanted to make to you, even if I didn't deserve to. I don't expect you to forgive me, Lily. I just want you to know that I'll spend the rest of my life proving to you that I was never playing with your heart." Silence filled the room, broken only by the sound of Lily's shaky breaths. She stared at the box, her heart warring with her mind. Finally, she whispered, "Why didn't you tell me the truth earlier? Why let me find out like that?" Ethan's shoulders slumped. "Because I was a coward. I thought if I told you, I'd lose you. But in trying to protect myself, I lost you anyway." Her tears spilled freely now. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to fall into his arms and let the world fade away. But Marcus's words echoed in her head, "Don't be fooled. He's still the same man." Lily took a shaky step back. "I need time, Ethan. I can't just forgive you overnight." He nodded slowly, pain etched across his face. "Take all the time you need. I'll wait. No matter how long it takes, I'll wait for you." And then, without another word, he turned and walked out of the bookstore, leaving the little velvet box on the counter. Lily stared at it for a long time, her heart breaking all over again. She wanted to throw it away, but instead, with trembling hands, she closed the box and held it to her chest, because no matter how hard she tried to deny it, she still loved him. Outside, Marcus sat in his car across the street, watching with narrowed eyes. His jaw clenched as he muttered under his breath, "If he thinks he's won her back, he's dead wrong. This isn't over." The battle for Lily's heart had only just begun. The days after Ethan's visit were heavy for Lily. She carried the velvet box everywhere, tucked deep inside her bag, as though part of her couldn't let it go. At night, she would take it out, open it, and stare at the ring under the faint glow of her bedside lamp. Her heart whispered, "He meant it this time." But her mind screamed, "Don't be fooled again." Meanwhile, Ethan kept his distance. He no longer sent flowers, no longer hovered outside her apartment. He had said he would wait, and he meant it. For the first time, he was giving her space instead of forcing his way back in. Still, every day without her felt like another knife to his chest. Marcus, however, couldn't stand the idea of Ethan slowly winning Lily's trust back. His pride wouldn't allow it. One evening, he showed up at the bookstore after closing. Lily was locking up when she saw him leaning casually against the lamppost, his smile as smug as ever. "Long day?" Marcus asked smoothly. Lily stiffened. "What do you want?" He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "To warn you. Ethan may look broken, may act noble, but don't forget who he really is. Men like him don't change. They only get better at lying." She glared at him. "You don't know him." Marcus chuckled. "Don't I? I've known Ethan longer than you. And I can promise you, he's addicted to winning. You were never love, Lily. You were a challenge. And now that he's lost, this whole confession charade is just his way of trying to flip the game." Her chest tightened, but she forced herself to stand tall. "You don't scare me, Marcus." His smirk widened. "I don't have to scare you. I just have to remind you. When he leaves you shattered again, and he will, you'll wish you'd listened." Before she could answer, Marcus slipped a folder into her hands and walked away into the night. Lily hesitated, then slowly opened it. Inside were photographs, Ethan with women at business events, laughing, drinking, looking every bit the playboy he had once been. Some were old, some recent. And at the bottom, a clipping from a gossip magazine with the headline, "Ethan Walker's Public Stunt, Confession or Strategy." Lily's stomach twisted. She knew Marcus was manipulating her, yet the images still stung. What if Ethan was only pretending? What if his sacrifice was just another mask? That night, she couldn't sleep. She clutched the ring box in one hand and the folder in the other, caught between two different versions of Ethan, the liar she had discovered and the man who had bared his heart before the world. Meanwhile, Ethan sat alone in his penthouse, unaware of Marcus's latest move. His phone buzzed with messages from business associates, furious over his decision to give up his inheritance. He ignored them all. His empire was collapsing, but he felt strangely free. For once, his future wasn't about money or power, it was about love. But love, he knew, wasn't something he could buy back. He would have to earn it. And across the city, Marcus raised a glass of whiskey, watching the rain fall against his window. His smile was sharp, his eyes cold. Let's see how much truth she can really handle. The storm between love and betrayal was far from over. Lily sat at the small table in her apartment, the folder Marcus had given her spread out in front of her. The photographs stared back at her, each one like a blade. Ethan in suits, smiling with women at galas, leaning too close, champagne in hand. They were the kind of pictures that didn't need explanations, the kind that made the heart doubt. She tried to remind herself they were old, that Marcus thrived on twisting things, but the seed of doubt had been planted. And doubt was louder than reason. Her phone buzzed on the table. For a moment she considered ignoring it, but when she saw Ethan's name glowing on the screen, her heart skipped. She let it ring twice before answering. Lily. His voice was rough, like he hadn't slept in days. She closed her eyes, gripping the phone tighter. What do you want, Ethan? To see you, he said softly. Please. Just one chance. Not to convince you, not to beg, just to talk. Face to face. Her throat tightened. Part of her wanted to scream no, to tell him to stay away. But another part, the part that still loved him despite everything, whispered yes. Tomorrow, she said finally. At the pier. 7 o'clock. When the call ended, she sat in silence, staring at the ring box beside the folder. Two choices, side by side. Love and betrayal. Trust and doubt. She didn't know which one would win. The next evening, the pier was quiet, the water shimmering under the pale glow of the setting sun. Ethan was already there, hands buried in his coat pockets, his eyes scanning the horizon as though searching for hope. When Lily appeared, his chest tightened. She looked beautiful and broken at the same time, her hair tied loosely, her face pale but strong. They stood a few feet apart, the waves crashing softly behind them. You came, Ethan whispered. I almost didn't, Lily replied, her voice trembling. He nodded, swallowing hard. I know I don't deserve this chance. But thank you. She pulled the folder from her bag and tossed it toward him. Marcus gave me this. Old photos, articles. He says you'll never change. That you're addicted to winning. That I was never love, just a challenge. Ethan bent down, picked up the folder, and flipped through the pages. His jaw clenched. Marcus will do anything to destroy me. You know that. But he's not wrong about your past, Lily said, her eyes filling. I look at those pictures and I see the man you used to be. The man who made that bet. Ethan stepped closer, desperation in his voice. Yes, that was me. I was reckless, shallow, selfish. But then I met you, and everything changed. Lily, don't let Marcus's poison erase what we've built. Don't let him take us away from each other. Her tears spilled. I don't know what to believe anymore. Ethan's voice broke. Believe this, if I lose you, I lose everything. And I will never forgive myself if that happens. Not because of Marcus. Not because of the past. But because I love you more than I've ever loved anything. Silence fell between them, broken only by the sound of waves. For the first time in weeks, Lily saw no arrogance in his eyes, no pride, no games. Only fear. Only love. Her chest ached with longing, but she whispered, if I take you back, Ethan, if I let myself trust you again, and you break me, there won't be anything left of me to fix. Ethan's eyes glistened. He stepped forward, his voice raw. Then I'll spend the rest of my life making sure I never hurt you again. Lily's lips trembled. For a heartbeat, it felt like the world paused, like maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back. But from the shadows at the far end of the pier, Marcus watched, his fists tightening. His plan wasn't over. And he had one last move left to play. The air on the pier was heavy, thick with everything unsaid between them. Ethan stood inches away from Lily, his hand hovering as though he wanted to touch hers but didn't dare. For a fragile moment, it felt like the world had stopped spinning, like healing was within reach. And then Marcus stepped out of the shadows. Well, he said smoothly, clapping slowly, isn't this touching? The liar and the fool, staring at each other like they're the stars of some fairy tale. Lily's face hardened, her heart sinking. Marcus, go home. He chuckled. Oh no, sweetheart. I came to finish this. His eyes flicked to Ethan, sharp with hate. You thought you could outsmart me. Throw away the bet, give up the money, stand on a stage and play the hero? Please. You don't get to rewrite the ending. Ethan's jaw clenched. This isn't your story, Marcus. It's ours. And you've already lost. Marcus smirked, then pulled a phone from his pocket. Has he told you, Lily, about the other side of the bet? About what happens if he fails? About what he loses? Because while he was out there making grand speeches, I was making sure his empire collapsed. His not just broke, darling. His ruined. No one in this city will touch him now. He can't give you security, he can't give you stability, all he can give you is a broken man's promises. The words cut like glass. Lily froze, her heart thundering. She turned to Ethan. Is it true? Ethan didn't flinch. Yes. Everything he said is true. I lost it all. The company, the inheritance, the power, it's all gone. He stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. But I don't care. None of it ever mattered compared to you. Marcus laughed darkly. See? He's got nothing now. Walk away, Lily. Walk away and let him rot in the mess he made. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Ethan, the man who had lied, who had broken her, but who had also bared his soul, sacrificed everything, and stood here stripped of pride. For the first time, he wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't untouchable. He was just a man, fragile, vulnerable, and hers if she wanted him. Her chest tightened as she whispered, "You really gave it all up, for me." Ethan's voice cracked. "For you, Lily, I'd give it up 1,000 times over." The silence stretched, the waves crashing harder against the pier. Marcus scoffed, shaking his head. "You'd actually choose him? After everything? After what he did to you?" Lily turned to Marcus, her voice steady now, her tears glistening in the fading light. "Yes. Because unlike you, he's not hiding anymore. He may have lied, but he faced the world and told the truth. He may have fallen, but he chose me over everything else. And that's something you'll never understand." Marcus's smirk faltered, his eyes narrowing. "You'll regret this." "No," Lily said firmly. "The only regret I'd have is letting you win." Marcus's face twisted with anger, but he didn't speak. He turned sharply, storming off into the shadows, his figure swallowed by the night. When he was gone, Lily turned back to Ethan. For a long, trembling moment, she just looked at him. Then slowly, she reached into her bag and pulled out the velvet box. She opened it, the diamond ring catching the pier lights, and held it between them. Ethan's breath caught. "Lily." Her voice shook, but her eyes were clear. "This doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't make everything right overnight. But if you're truly willing to spend the rest of your life proving me wrong, then I'm willing to give us one more chance." His chest caved with relief as tears filled his eyes. He took the ring with trembling hands and slipped it gently back onto her finger. This time, there were no bets, no contracts, no lies, only love. Lily's tears spilled as Ethan pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was the only thing that kept him alive. And maybe she was. For the first time, the pier felt warm. Not because of the night air, but because two broken hearts had chosen each other again, scars and all. The world outside still buzzed with gossip, money, and power. Marcus still lurked in the shadows, bitter and plotting. But none of that mattered now. Because for Ethan and Lily, the bet was over. The real story had just begun. And the lesson was clear: love is never about perfection, wealth, or winning. It's about the courage to face the truth, the strength to forgive, and the choice to keep holding on, even when it hurts.